dated 27 November 2018, which asks for orders inter alia that there be a retesting or what the application calls fresh tests as regards consignment subject consignment. Our position will be based on the affidavit sworn and filed by Police Constable Peter Nderetu. It's dated 4th December 2018. The grounds of opposition which we filed this morning, dated 7th of January 2019, and finally a number of authorities which shall be highlighted. Straight to our position, and on the basis of the said affidavit, we urge you to dismiss the application for the reasons: one, that the subject consignment, which was imported via document number 6784061, failed to meet at least 4 of the 13 parameters that were tested. Those 4 parameters include nitrogen, sulfur, water-soluble phosphates, and, more importantly, mercury, which is the subject of the trial. That conclusion that the consignment failed those 4 parameters, or at least those 4 parameters, was reached after at least 3 tests were done. The first test was conducted on the 2nd of February 2018. The second test was done on 2 days, the 19th and 21st February 2018. And it is important to note that that second test was a retest upon an application for such a retest by the importer, OCP. And finally, the most important test regarding this, the subject trial, is the one done on 19th June 2018 for purposes of mercury. We submit in opposition to the application and on the basis of our affidavit that KEBS is the only statutorily recognized body for the conducting of such tests for purposes of release of fertilizers to the market. And while an importer can conduct or have conducted independent private tests, the only test that is recognized and which we urge this court to rely on making a determination is that done by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. And it is that test which was done against the Kenya standards, which is referred to as KS 158. Kenya Standards Specification for Solid Compound Fertilizers, KS 158, Kenya Standards Specification for Solid Compound Fertilizers. We are saying that there may be up to 10 or even 20 tests done on a consignment. 19 of those tests, if there are 20, may agree and may be different from the KEBS results. But what is binding on us and what we are calling on this court to rely on is that one single test by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. And it is that test on which, if there is a failure, there will be charges. And it is that test, on the basis of the parameter of mercury, that charges were brought against the accused persons, including the 7th accused person, who is the applicant, and the 1st accused person for purposes of releasing the fertilizer. Our other grounds of opposition is that there is no legal requirement that during KEBS conducting these tests, that an importer must be present. But that KEBS may then inform you that the samples we took from your consignment failed to meet certain parameters. So that KEBS cannot be faulted, or KEBS cannot fault itself, as it will appear during my learned senior Mr. Muite's presentation, that there may have been an error and there should be another test. We can therefore not be faulted for KEBS having done its test without the importer. The other ground of opposition is that this court and our legal system is adversarial in nature. So that as we speak now, Your Honor, you do not know the nature of the evidence that the prosecution is going to table against each of the accused persons. So that as we speak right now, no single piece of evidence, no exhibit has been put before you such that this court cannot apply its mind to material or exhibit that has not been placed before it. You know, in the same wavelength, while we have supplied material to the defense, which is a requirement, the defense may not be able to perfectly choose a section of that material and tell us that this is the crux of your case. That remains our strategy and our secret until we bring the witnesses and the exhibits and say this is our case. So that this court must be hesitant and the defense must be prevented from giving us a suggestion that we can see this is your case. What I'm trying to say, Your Honor, is we are going to tell this court during trial that a test was done and the consignment failed that test. But this court cannot tell us that so that you charge, we need you to go and do another test. And this court must be reluctant to be invited by the defense to move or remove its clothes of impartiality and descend into the arena so that you tell us that I also think this is the evidence you should bring. We are very confident that we have a very good case. A test was done, that test was failed. The court should relax and wait for us to bring that test. Once it becomes exhibits, then it can be challenged at that time. It would therefore be premature to tell us that this test is wrong. We need a second or third opinion. And we urge you to agree with us that it is not the business of this court to direct the direction that investigations should take. That is on the basis of this court and our legal system being purely adversarial. We may as well choose not to bring the tests or the test results before court. But that does not block the defense from doing their independent test and also bringing a contradictory or a test that confirms our position. So on the basis of those grounds, we are urging you to tell the defense that it is not in the place of this court to direct the prosecution on how to do its investigations. And there's no legal basis for asking the prosecution to do another test. The statutory established body has already conducted the test, which is the basis of our case. They can wait to bring theirs in defense, if at all they will get to the defense stage. I think that marks my bit of the contribution. I'll spare the remaining time to my colleagues.
My Lord, my name is Kenji. I'll address you briefly by highlighting some authorities we have attached to our grounds of opposition. I believe the court has a copy of our grounds of opposition. Your Honor, we are relying on the case of Charles Mburu 10 versus Republic, 2017 case, where in the last page, that is page 3 of 3, the Honorable Justice Ngenya Macharia held that the court cannot order the extraction of samples, as doing so will be to aid the prosecution to fill up gaps in their case, which works against the interests of justice. Your Honor, it is our submission that permitting the request by the defense goes against the interest of justice. This is to aid a party to a dispute to acquire evidence sanctioned by this court. So it is a submission that the orders that are being sought are against the interests of justice. Your Honor, there is another authority we intend to rely on. The case of Republic versus Raphael Muoki Kalungu. It is a 2017
affidavit sworn on the 11th December 2018 by Charles Mugega Ngwai, first accused in the matter. And this affidavit is sworn in support of the application before you. Your Honor, we picked on this affidavit of purpose. The first accused, until the date he was charged, was the CEO of KEBS. You will note from his affidavit, he does not say anything about the tests that KEBS carried out. He is silent. He does not attack the results from KEBS, but he simply asks you at paragraph 3 to order the trial basis at even sway and permit retesting. You cannot just order retesting for the sake of it. The court must be persuaded what is wrong with the test that was done. What is it that the party is seeking to establish or discount regarding that report? When you have a man of the stature of the CEO avoiding to venture into that area, it can only tell you one thing: a conspiracy of silence. Why is the court being asked to get into the area of investigations, order investigations at the request of the defense? The answer is obvious, that you hate the defense preparing case. That is not the duty of the court with respect. Your Honor, until you receive the subject consignment as exhibits before this court is precluded from dealing with it because it is not an exhibit before. And you cannot make any orders about a consignment that has not been accepted as evidence before the court. The application is therefore premature. We urge you to dismiss it. Allow us to present our case, and should the defense then poke holes on our report, and it becomes necessary that a retesting on orders by the court, then only at that stage can the court consider. But at the moment, sorry, it is too early in the day. We urge you to dismiss that petition.
Your Honor, in a reply to the DPP's response, let me reiterate. Our application is anchored on 4 grounds. 1, Article 50 of the Constitution, the right to a fair trial. That right, Your Honor, is vested in the accused. Number 2, Article 47, a constitutional right, fair administrative action. Number 3, Your Honor, the protocol and procedure by KEBS, the complainant, that is followed and applied when a product does not meet the prescribed Kenyan standards. Finally, Your Honor, number 4, the inherent powers of court to make any orders that the justice of the case before the court demands. Your Honor, let me reply first on Article 50 and allow me to trouble the court to look at the grounds of opposition filed by the DPP this morning and the case, the judgment of the Honorable Justice Mutuku. This is the last authority annexed to the grounds of opposition. It is criminal case number 77 of 2014. It is Republic versus Raphael Mwoki Kalungu. Criminal case. Your Honor, if you look at page 1 of that petition, it's 107, the first paragraph, the court is talking about the background. And the background here is that Kathy Kilonzo, for the accused, filed a notice of motion, discovery, in which, on behalf of the accused person, she was seeking all the items listed on that page from A to Q. In other words, she was seeking material. She was even seeking that the prosecution should go to Safaricom and obtain evidence on campus. And the state was arguing in this case, as it is doing in this case before Your Honor, that the court has no jurisdiction. The prosecution was overruled, and the court said it has jurisdiction. To facilitate the accused to effectively conduct his or her defense. And that's all we're asking in the present case. Your Honor, you will, if you go to page 3 of 7, the paragraph at the bottom there, the court is saying Article 50, that is right to a fair trial. Article 50 of our current constitution, which has been hailed as being progressive, provides for a fair trial. Article 50, sub-article 2 provides and explains what the right to a fair trial includes. So here is the court specifically talking about the orders it can make under Article 50. And over the page, 407, the second paragraph, in resolving the issue, because the DPP was arguing that the authorities that had been cited by Kathy Kilonzo were old authorities, the court is saying those authorities are still relevant, because even under the old constitution, there was still the requirement. And a very important statement in the second paragraph, the paragraph beginning on the issue of notice of discovery. You all has that. On the issue of notice of discovery, there is a sentence saying it is not out of ordinary. And to some extent, in my view, it is just a matter of semantics. Our law allows disclosure of material in a criminal trial. See Article 50 and the authorities say. Further down, it is a question which is at the center of a fair hearing within a reasonable time by independent and impartial court established by law, being given adequate time and, what is important, adequate time and facilities for the preparations of one defense. So that what the court is saying here, Your Honor, is that the court has jurisdiction to make orders to facilitate the accused person, to conduct his or her defense. And the court proceeds to elaborate further on Article 50 by saying, this court also recalls Article 159 2D of the Constitution, which urges courts to administer justice without undue regard to procedural technicalities. Administer justice. And finally, Your Honor, over the page 5 of 7, the second paragraph, beginning with among the rights of a fair trial guaranteed under Article 50, Sub-Article 2, Your Honor has that paragraph. The last words in that paragraph are to facilitate the defense in any manner. Facilitate the defense in any manner. So that the court there goes on to say, as submitted by the defense, and this court agrees with it, the right to a fair trial cannot be limited. See Article 25 of the Constitution. Further, as submitted by the defense, a court in applying the Bill of Rights shall adopt the interpretation that most favors the enforcement of a right to parliamentary privilege. Your Honor, the following paragraphs they are under, the court directed to order most of the things that the accused had applied. So that this is an authority in support of the application, not an authority that aids the DPP. And you will see over the page, the last page, 707, the court says, I wish to reiterate that whatever information stroke evidence that may come in possession of the prosecution in the course of this trial ought to be disclosed and supplied to the defense. You had some amazing submissions being made that they can continue holding as their secret weapons until they bring it to court. Article 50 now demands the opposite, that you be given everything, Your Honor. And Your Honor, just to finish off with the cases, the second decision relied on the Indian case. Your Honor, this is easily distinguishable because this Indian case was challenging the constitutional validity of certain sections in a statute. That is not what we are doing, Your Honor. This decision is not relevant at all to the matter before the court. And the first Kenyan case, criminal appeal number 54, which is the first one, annexed. Your Honor, if you go to page 303, the passage that was cited, the court cannot also order the extraction of other samples, as doing so would be to aid the prosecution. Aid the prosecution. Your Honor, here it is the accused who is making the application. So that these orders will not be aiding the prosecution, they will be aiding the accused persons in conducting their defense. It is them who are asking. And Article 50 is about protecting the accused person. Your Honor, you've been referred to the reply that filed in court on the 5th of December. Allow me to trouble the court to refer to this affidavit in my reply to the submission filed. The affidavit. Your Honor, if you look at paragraph 5 on page 2, it says that against 13 parameters, OCP compound fertilizer failed at least 3. Mercury, nitrogen, and sulfur. Your Honor, I refer you to the affidavit in support of our application for retested. In particular, Your Honor, page 9 of our motion and a certificate. Your Honor has page 9. Your Honor, this is a letter from KEBS, the complainant. Dated, you see the date at the top there, 9th of February 2018. Your Honor, this letter was advising the importer of the fertilizer that after KEBS had tested the fertilizer early in February, on the 2nd of February, they had found sulfur and nitrogen not compliant with our standards. Now, if you turn over the page, you find the report by KEBS, and the last 2 items there, you will find nitrogen is said to be 13.2%, and sulfur, they say it was not detected. In other words, there was no sulfur and nitrogen was 13.2%. What point am I emphasizing here? Two very fundamental points. One is that there is no mention of mercury in the tests that they carried out on the 2nd of February. This report, which is BON 10, the only complaints are regarding sulfur and nitrogen. No mention of mercury. Point number 2, Your Honor, in writing this letter of 9th of February, KEBS was complying with a number of legal requirements. One, the protocols, where a product does not comply with Kenya's prescribed standards, you inform the importer. They are complying with the protocol. They are complying with Article 47, Fair Administrative Action. Your Honor, if you go to page 11 of the bundle, you will see a letter by the importer dated 12th of February, in which the importer said this cannot be sulfur and nitrogen. And therefore, there was a retesting you are on in respect of sulfur and nitrogen, as in fact the DPP's office considered on the 19th and 21st of February. In other words, the importer was accorded a retesting in respect of sulfur and nitrogen, when in fact the results found in respect of sulfur, which they had said it was not traced, 6 point something. In respect of nitrogen, where they say 13%, it was 16 point something percent, indicating something not quite right with KEBS testing. Yona, why we have made a compelling case for retesting is this. When you look at page 16, Exhibit 16, BN 16, you will find a letter there from KEBS. It's dated 1st of March. Page 16. That letter, Your Honor, is addressed now to the importer. Say, after the retesting, we are satisfied about sulfur, we are satisfied about nitrogen. So we now authorize the release of your fertilizer for sale to farmers for the 1st of March. So that, Your Honor, from the 1st of March to the 19th of June, the fertilizer is being sold to farmers. The whole of March, the whole of April, the whole of May, 19 days in March, we are selling. Now, as you will see from the supporting affidavit, the first indication we had that there were concerns about mercury was on the 22nd of June, when the DPP issued a statement that our fertilizer had mercury. Where are the results of the retesting? They took 100 kilos on the 19th of June. Where are those results? And you know, the 100 kilos, 2 bags of 50 kg each were taken on the 19th of June. 19th of June. How did they travel from Mombasa to Nairobi? And testing completed by 22nd for the results to be announced through the media. You know, a violation of the protocols of KEBS. Evidence is when they invited us, informed us about sulfur nitrogen. Why did they not invite us about mercury, if indeed there was any mercury in this 100 kilo 2 bags? Violation of the protocols, violation of Article 47, and Your Honor, under Article 50, in order for the accused to prepare for their defense. They are entitled to a correction. They are entitled to have their technicians, just like they did when the sulfur and nitrogen was being retested. This fertilizer came in the hold of the ship, not in bags, Your Honor. It was in the cargo hold of the ship. You know, like one puts manure or sand on a lorry.
Your Honor, sorry about interjecting. I think land and sea counsel is now able to give you evidence. I don't know whether that's a huge question about all the cargoes moved.
It is in the affidavit, Your Honor. What I'm saying is that the first sample, which was taken in January, was taken before the bagging. It's all in the affidavit. I'm trying to elaborate why it is absolutely fundamental that the retesting should take place. Your Honor. So all I'm saying, Your Honor, is that post the 2010 Constitution, the right to a fair hearing, Your Honor has the authority to make the orders we are seeking. And it is amazing that the prosecution can actually object to this, particularly because in their replying affidavit, they are telling Your Lordship in paragraph 11 of the affidavit of the investigating officer, this police constable, Deritu, paragraph 11, Your Honor, they say that they have destroyed the samples. Your Honor, when there is a criminal case and the charge is attempted murder, these are no longer samples. These are called exhibits. How can the prosecution resist the application for retesting when they are now telling the court that they destroyed court exhibits? Your Honor, court exhibits are destroyed with the permission of the court. You can't talk about 6 months. 6 months is when there is no criminal case. So that what harm can the prosecution possibly suffer if there is retesting for the fertilizer? You will see that since 19th of June, the fertilizer from which we are asking samples be taken for retesting has been under lock and key, guarded by GSU with the guns 24 hours, Your Honor. Please, the interest of justice demand that if the accused are going to be able to effectively conduct their defense, they cannot be pushed into a corner and be told to rely on testing that occurred subsequent to the 19th of June, unilaterally in our absence, without notifying us and without according us an opportunity for retesting. we are handicapped. We want samples taken so that it can be retested in the presence of our technical people. If anything, potentially, we are the ones as the accused who are exposing ourselves to danger in case the retesting finds there was mercury. What logic is there whatsoever on the part of the PPT in resisting this after destroying the sample? What are they hiding? Are they trying to convict by hook or crook? Where is the fair hearing, Your Honor, in the absence of retesting? I plead with you, rely on the case that has been cited, Justice Mutuku's case, and order retesting. And order that the results of the retesting be filed in this court within 10 days from the date Your Honor's orders are made. I thank you.
All matters considered, however, especially considered in the all relevant parties. The court is inclined to grant them and in that regard, I therefore order as follows. That the court has and in default thereof,